The most dangerous airsoft snipers know that their radio and their fieldcraft are just as part of the package as their primary.
What's up, Airsofters? If you've ever spent any time on the field, you've probably seen it before.
The player in the full ghillie, bolt action in hand, tucked deep into a corner, waiting for that perfect shot.
And from the outside, it's easy to assume that what being a sniper or marksman in Airsoft is all about. A good rifle, a good position, and the patience to take the shot when it presents itself.
But that's only part of the picture.
Because the most effective players in this role aren't just good shots. They're aware. They understand how the field is moving, where pressure is building, and how to influence a fight before they ever pull the trigger.
They're not just reacting to what's happening around them, they're shaping it.
And more often than not, what makes them dangerous isn't what they're holding in their hands.
It's everything else they bring with them.
So today, instead of solely talking about precision airsoft guns themselves, let's take a step back.
We're gonna break down what the role actually is, how to approach it depending on your play style,
and what separates a player who's just along for the ride
from one who's actually making an impact on the field.
So if this role isn't just about the rifle, what is it?
At a high level, a sniper or marksman in Airsoft isn't necessarily there to rack up kills. They're there to understand, identify, and influence the flow of the game.
So think about how most engagements actually happen on the field. At more casual games, players move along predictable routes. They bunch up around cover, they hesitate at choke points, your typical weekend game stuff. They repeat the same pushes over and over and over again.
A good marksman starts to recognize these patterns.
You're watching how the field develops in real time, where your team is gaining ground, where it's stalling out, where the opposing team is trying to apply pressure, and instead of reacting to those moments after they happen, you're positioning yourself to affect them before they unfold.
That might mean taking a shot that stops a push before it builds momentum. It might mean holding an angle that forces players to reroute entirely. Or it might mean not shooting at all, just staying hidden long enough to understand what the other team is trying to do while having the ability to accurately relay that information back to your team.
Or one of the biggest points we want to hammer home here is that unlike many other roles in Airsoft, information is your currency in this role.
What you see, what you hear, and what you can communicate to your team is often more valuable than any single elimination. A well-timed out call out, a warning about a flank, or even just confirming enemy movement can change how your entire team approaches the next few minutes of the game.
This is especially the case at larger, more organized milsim oriented events, as opposed to kind of like your weekend game at SE Village where you're not really using comms. Think about it. If you see a squad-sized movement heading towards friendly forces, and you've got the concealment and observation post necessary to observe them unnoticed, what's going to be more effective? Attempting to engage like a 10-man element with a bolt action rifle for maximum range? Or making sure that your friendly elements have the heads up necessary to actually scramble a hasty ambush on an incoming group of hostiles?
And that is where the role starts to separate itself.
A player who's focused only on taking shots is reacting to opportunities, and that's just fine, don't get me wrong, but a player who understands the role is creating for themselves and for the rest of the friendly forces around them a superior environment. So with that in mind, talking about kind of the shifting role of the sniper platform and really what you should be doing instead of just concentrating on taking the shot, when you do need to take a shot, what qualifies or quantifies an assessment of an HVT, depending on whether you're in a weekend game or in a milsim?
Glad you asked. So identifying HVTs are crucial to making those shots count. How you can identify them? Usually it's the person with the radio, someone directing. I think the biggest tell for anyone who looks like they're an HVT or is in charge is hand signals. You'll see people doing a lot of gesturing from a position. They'll be surrounded by people that are just listening intently to what they're saying. And that can be just seen. You don't even need to hear what they're talking about. Just body language will telegraph that.
Not necessarily shooting the guy in the front of the enemy squad.
Personally, I think taking out an HVT or the person in charge is more detrimental to the flow state of the game and what that small unit is trying to accomplish, because now you've just thrown a wrench into their plans. Basically, if you eliminate the mechanic, the engine is going to fail.
Sure.
So before we even talk about what rifle you should be using, it's important to understand this.
The role is not defined necessarily by distance. It's not defined by camouflage, and it's definitely not defined by how many, like I said, how many kills you walk away with.
It's defined by your ability to read the field, control space, and give your team the edge via intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance before the fight even begins.
And killing the dude with the radio.
Get that guy.
Now, with all of that in mind, and taking a step back, it seems like the majority of what we've both touched on and the specific kind of HVT identification that you explained, that really kind of concentrates all that information in the milsim space. Because at a typical weekend game, you don't have squads generally running around. And you certainly don't have people communicating via comms for the most part.
Yeah, very, very rare.
Very rarely.
Very rare.
And even if there are people communicating on comms, I would argue 9 times out of 10, it's
the guy, bad guy, he's behind the rock.
kind of with that in mind, does everything we've just suggested become completely irrelevant at a weekend game?
Quite honestly, I think controlling space at a pickup game is more effective for the sniper DMR role. Say, you take the right lane at SC Village and you snipe the first 2 or 3 guys that come down that lane. Everyone's gonna know, hey, there's a DMR sniper down this lane. Maybe let's not go that way. And now, again, like we discussed, now you're shaping the battlefield or the field, forcing people to go maybe a different direction. Maybe that's gonna be into more friendly rifles, a machine gun emplacement. Yeah, I mean, the role is not completely lost.
So once you understand now kind of what the role actually is, the next question naturally, I think, becomes what kind of setup actually supports the role we've just described? Because despite what a lot of people think, there is not one correct answer for the role. There's just the one that matches how you want to solve problems.
If you lean toward a slower, more deliberate play style, taking time to observe, picking high-value shots, and staying hidden for extended periods, a bolt-action rifle makes a lot of sense. It reinforces patience, it forces you to commit to each shot, and it rewards you for positioning correctly the first time because you don't get the luxury of fast follow-ups.
But the same limitation can apply and become a liability if the game around you is moving really, really quickly.
If you find yourself heading to reposition often, support teammates more directly, or stay engaged in fluid mid-range fights, a semi-automatic DMR is usually the better fit. You're still playing that marksman role, still reading the field, controlling space, but now you have the flexibility to take multiple shots, adjust on the fly, and stay relevant as the fight shifts.
And then there's the middle ground, right? We've got players who treat the role less as a kind of a fixed position and more like a roaming problem solver, right? Instead of picking one emplacement. They're not necessarily locked into one lane, they're moving, probing, finding gaps, and exploiting them, which is a little bit different from what we discussed in the beginning. But for that kind of playstyle, your setup may be less about strict categories and more about like balance, I guess.
The important thing to understand is that your rifle doesn't define the role, it amplifies the way you already play.
And a bolt action won't magically make you patient. Quite the opposite, I would argue. A DMR also won't make you automatically more effective.
If anything, the wrong setup can fight you the entire time, forcing you into decisions that don't match how you naturally approach the field.
So instead of asking, what's the best sniper rifle or what's the best DMR, the question really is,
how do you want to engage with the game? Do you want to slow it down, stay flexible, control space from a distance, or move with your team and shape the fight as it evolves?
and once you have that answer, I mean, I think the decision becomes a lot more obvious. And with that in mind, we really do have kind of 2 separate ethos on how to do the sniper DMR platform. There are people who really love bolt action. There are people who really love kind of the AR-based like DMR. What would be kind of the use case for a bolt gun versus the use case for a DMR gun?
A bolt action does make sense in certain situations. I would say most effectiveness of the bolt action is stealth. That one shot, it's just gonna be a quick snap. There's no follow-on motor or mech box making a bunch of noise.
Yeah.
So if you just want to play stealthy, and I mean, we see this all the time with all the ghillie suit sniper rifle videos, those guys are just taking one single shot, firing, and remaining hidden. So if stealth is your goal, then a bolt action is for you.
And before you switch to DMRs, I would also argue that bolt gun hop-up technology, especially the upgraded ones, are still more precise than even some of the best AEG hop-up units. I mean, there are some really good AEG hop-up units, but also we've seen incredibly long-distance precise shots out of bolt guns.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if there's also like an element of shot precision there that makes it advantageous to have a bolt gun, but
I think when it comes to the shot precision is going to come down to the shooter, the actual shooter. Usually guys who use bolt guns, they've been using those guns for quite some time and they know their rifle very well. I know when I spend a lot of time sniping, I start to see, okay, I know that my shot will list to the left a little bit, or maybe at this angle, if I hold it, I'll get, this type of trajectory from the BB.
how does that compare to a DMR?
Personally, I think the DMR is great for accurate suppression, or at least this is a great way to start learning the trajectory of how a BB behaves in the wind, in different conditions. It's a little bit more forgiving as well if you're not that great of a shot yet.
You certainly got more follow-up shots available very quickly.
Yeah. This is also great for if you know you're going to be in an area where you think you'll be engaging multiple targets. This is all pertaining to milsim. I think when it comes to regular pickup games though, bolt actions give you very satisfying gameplay, in my opinion. That single shot, that little hand that's poking out, or maybe you see the guy's face mask and you dink him, like
more rewarding.
There we go, yeah.
Okay. The bolt gun has a distinct advantage, maybe in kind of a non-quantifiable way, right? Yes. And that's the rewarding nature of racking back that one round to fire the one shot to get that skilled placed shot, as opposed to having kind of the
spray and pray,
safety cushion of being able to do more follow-up shots.
Okay, and safety cushion is also a good descriptor.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are just spraying and praying.
That's me.
To be fair, but yeah, like just being able to send off that one single shot for that one single elimination is highly rewarding from the shooter perspective.
Yeah.
At this point, you understand what the role is, and you've got a setup that supports how you want to play.
But now comes the part that actually determines whether you're actually helping your team, something we kind of referred to earlier, or whether you're just existing kind of somewhere on the field with a long rifle. And it starts with this. A lot of players think that this role is about shooting, as we've mentioned, but really, it's kind of about seeing.
Observation is everything. You're constantly scanning for movement, looking for patterns, watching how players enter and leave cover, how they react when they take contact, how they reposition after a push fails. The longer you're able to stay undetected, the more valuable that information becomes. Because once you see the pattern, you don't need to chase the fight. You can let it come to you. And that's where patience comes in. But it's not the kind of patience people usually think of. This isn't about sitting still and waiting forever. It's about waiting with intent.
You're not idle, you're tracking, timing, spacing, and exposure. You're letting a situation develop until the moment where your involvement actually matters. The difference between kind of a wasted shot and a decisive one is actually just a few seconds of restraint. Watching somebody come around a corner and waiting to see if anybody's behind them or whether they're conversing with anybody before you take that shot, so that you don't alert the 5 people on the other side of the corner behind them that you're sitting there.
But patience without movement becomes stagnation, and that's where repositioning comes in. Good players in this role don't stay in one place for the entire game, they move. But they move with purpose. After a shot, after being spotted, or after the flow of the game shifts, they relocate to a new position that keeps them relevant.
Not constantly running, not randomly drifting, just deliberate, thoughtful repositioning that keeps them one step ahead in the fight. Does that mean this role is good for people with ADD or not?
And this is where one of the most overlooked parts of the role comes into play: communication. A lot of players treat this role like a solo experience. Guarantee you, it is not.
If you're seeing the field better than most players and you're not communicating that, you're actually kind of leaving a massive advantage on the table. Calling out movement, warning your team about flanks, confirming positions, these things have more impact than any shot you're taking.
You're not just a shooter, you're a set of eyes for your team. And finally, probably the hardest skill to learn in this role, knowing when not to shoot. It's incredibly tempting. You see a player, but you have the shot and you want to take it, but sometimes the best decision is to just not.
Like we said, because the moment you shoot, you give up your position. And if there were 5 dudes sitting behind the guy coming around the corner, now they all know where you are and you're forced to move, losing that advantage.
The players who really excel in this role understand that not every opportunity needs to be taken. Sometimes staying hidden, gathering information, and waiting for a better moment has a much bigger impact on the game.
So when you put all of that together, the difference becomes pretty clear. Anyone can pick up a rifle and take shots.
But the players who become true assets in this role are the ones who observe first, act with intent, move with discipline, communicate constantly, and only pull the trigger when it actually matters.
This tells me I'm not a sniper at all.
Well,
this has been very educational for me.
Sorry to break it to you, Matt.
It's okay. You think they can see us?
Just don't move. don't make any sudden movements. The human eye is attracted to movement, and as long as we don't move, they can't see us.
Dude, these Viper hoods are so effective. And speaking of cover and concealment and movement, I mean, technology has gotten a heck of a lot better, especially when it comes to the gear available to snipers and DMRs. Case in point, these awesome Viper hoods. Now, Viper hoods are not new. These are new. These are new at Evike.com, and you should totally check them out because they come in a bunch of different colors. But Viper hoods in general and other camouflage options like ghillie suits are a great way to mask your silhouette, right? And to keep yourself from being seen. But how many people have we seen get gassed out wearing ghillie suits on the field because they're heavy and hot and they don't breathe well?
Quite honestly, I think the full ghillie suit is kind of an antiquated piece of
Gear.
Yeah,
Sure.
military gear.
Yeah.
We'll
So the Viper hood, so like this, solves
this is great.
most of the things that you would do with a ghillie.
Yep. I mean, this big old hood breaks up the silhouette of your head. This is nice and small enough that you can crumple it up, put it into a backpack if you don't want to just walk around like this the whole game.
Yeah.
I also like that this
thing.
has these little slots right here. So if you wanted to add some natural camouflage to your ghillie suit to help blend in with the environment better, you can do that. Yeah, just a nice piece of kit to have.
Yourself.
Available now at Evike.com. So at the end of the day, this role isn't for everyone.
It asks you to slow down in a game that often rewards speed. It asks you to think ahead instead of reacting. And it asks you to find value in moments that don't always show up on a scoreboard. So don't be doing this in Speedsoft.
But if it clicks, it fundamentally changes how you play.
You stop chasing the fight and start understanding it. You start seeing movement before it happens, tracking people's habits. You start realizing that your impact on the game isn't measured in a kill streak. It's measured in how you shape what everyone else is doing around you.
And once you get that point, it's hard to go back.
So whether you're running a bolt action, a DMR, something in between, just remember, the rifle is really only part of the equation. The
rest of it is you.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.